welcome to a very special Christmassy episode of Good Game. I'm Hex.
And I'm Bajo. Sit back and relax. There's a full hour of gaming goodness ahead of you because it's our last show for 2014, Hex.
Yes, and we've got loads of reviews lined up. We've got Super Smash Bros. Wii U. Tales from the Borderlands.
You must really have to go. That is not good.
Never Alone. And Little Big Planet 3.
Marlon Random is the name. Method acting is the game. Come on, baby, bring it closer. Closer. That's it.
Goose will be along a bit later to look at what made waves in the gaming industry this year, and Hex and I will reflect on our own personal highlights as well.
But wait, there's more. Our favourite beard, Dave Callan, has a special gaming wish up his sleeve, and we'll hand out our annual Good Game Awards, honouring the year's best
and worst. So quite a lot to get through, but before all that, can you name the game for this week?
Okay, well, let's get stuck into it, Bajo. It's time now to head back to the Borderlands, but this time with less lootin' and shootin' and more walkin' and talkin', with the first episode of Tales from the Borderlands.
This is the latest episodic adventure from the masters of storytelling at Telltale Games, makers of The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead. When I first heard about this, Hex, it was a bit of a surprise because when I think of Borderlands, I think of those gameplay mechanics, not really its story or characters. It's just an odd pairing.
Yeah, even so, the Borderlands universe is a great setting for this kind of game. It's a world where giant corporations mingle with completely crazy psychopaths and deadly beasts, while mysterious alien vaults full of riches are just begging to be discovered.
You ever see anything so pretty in your miserable lives?
It's sci-fi Mad Max meets Indiana Jones, coated with a healthy dose of humour.
True, and the Borderlands series has never really been bogged down in lore, so you can jump right into this without feeling like you're missing anything. Also, the cel-shaded graphics of Borderlands are a perfect match with the look of Telltale's other games.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we won't say too much about the plot because the episodes are only about 2 hours long, so if we spend too much time on it, we'll just spoil everything. But the story is framed with our hero, Reese, immediately finding himself in a rather sticky situation, forced into telling us how he got there in flashback form. Reese was a Hyperion company man, but after getting shafted from that promotion he was gunning for, he devises a plan to do some shafting of his own.
We steal his deal. Yes! That is what I'm talking about.
But plans have a habit of getting out of hand on Pandora, and we soon meet our other hero, Fiona, who has found herself caught up in Reese's schmozzle.
Oh, nice haircut, you lying Hyperion jackass.
It is a nice haircut!
But really, she only has herself to blame for that.
We'll leave the plot there, but simply say that the story is great. For a first episode, it does everything it needs to. There's heists gone awry,
I got a feeling.
lovable new returning characters, lots of laughs, a few exciting set pieces, some tough decisions, and of course a great cliffhanger to go out on.
Yes, and I love how faithful this game feels to the series. From little things like how the user interface and loot looks, to just how much action there is. And they don't waste any time, do they?
No, they've pretty much given up completely on the idea of this being a point-and-click style game. And admittedly, they've been going that way for a while with their other games, but this time they've almost entirely removed all of the puzzles and areas to explore. It's all about making your dialogue decisions and surviving the various QuickTime events.
Oh my god!
And I really liked that. This is an interactive story that just rockets along. There's no half-baked puzzles. You're not wandering around aimlessly picking up stuff going, oh, I don't think I need this. It's laser-focused storytelling and it lets you direct it.
Yeah, and I think it's actually some of their strongest work in that regard. You can really play these characters how you want.
Why do you even care?
Because you're driving your ass wagon all through my town, kicking up earth, stirring up spider ants. And when the spider ants come, people get killed.
Sure, the major plot points are largely predetermined, but how you get there and what kind of person you want these characters to be in the process is in your hands.
I would like to see more of that freedom in the action sequences, though. They're mostly just a long series of pass-fail quick times. It would just be nice to see them evolve a bit more naturally if you mess up, or give you more options to do things differently.
Yeah, some more flexibility there would have been nice, but they're still exciting moments. All up, I really loved this episode, so I'm giving it 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a fantastic start. I'm giving it 9 out of 10 as well.
It'll be interesting to see what Telltale's Game of Thrones game is like. We'll have to get stuck into that over the break, Bajo.
Indeed. But now it's time to start the Good Game Awards.
It's time for the 2014 GGAs, bringing you the year's hottest games and the planet's hottest celebrities, all in one blockbuster show, with performances by Brought to Bro and Shaniqua. The 2014 GGAs are brought to you by the refreshing spritz of Fluoro Twist. Chug that golden glow. Now please welcome your hosts, it's Bajo and Hex!
Hey gamers! What's up? Hey, and welcome to the GGAs for 2014, where we look at all the games that turned it up to 11.
From the epic end-of-the-world action of Dragon Age to the radical brutality of Crossy Roads.
Bajo, I don't think I can keep this up all night.
Yeah, me neither. Get out. Leave. Go on. Off you go. Get out. Off you go.
Whew, that's better. Tonight we honour the year's best and worst games. To help us decide on all the winners, we took to social media for your votes. So a big thank you to everyone who chipped in with your opinion.
Yes, and your votes helped us decide the results. Now, as is tradition, we awarded the technical and smaller awards before the show, and the winners are... And now on to our first award of 2014, the Quiet Achiever.
This is a game that flew under the radar, whether it was a low-budget indie release or simply a game that didn't get the attention that it deserved.
Here are the nominees for the Quiet Achiever. Monument Valley, Transistor, Divinity Original Sin, Goat Simulator, Five Nights at Freddy's.
And the winner is... Divinity Original Sin.
Whoa! Bit of heals for you.
Thank you.
And it's all over.
Good finish, good finish. Independently developed, partially crowdfunded, and critically acclaimed, Divinity Original Sin is a role-playing masterpiece. Top-down exploration through gorgeous and grim locations, tough turn-based combat, and some innovative twists and turns made this a compelling and memorable quest. Here she goes. Oh, devastating.
A great game that truly deserves another moment in the spotlight. Congratulations to Larian Studios. We'll be back with more awards a bit later on.
You should wear the hats more often. We look great.
We do look fabulous. We look bad.
Sack Boy is back.
Hex, I think you'll find it's now referred to as Sack Person.
Oh, yes, sorry. Sack Person is back with some new friends for a bit of adorably creative platforming in Little Big Planet 3.
And the world is made of energy, and the world is electricity, and the world is made of energy, and there's a lot inside of you, and there's a lot inside of me.
This is the first Little Big Planet in the main series not made by the series creator, Media Molecule. Fellow UK developer Sumo Digital have taken the reins.
Yes, but I think if you didn't know that, you probably wouldn't notice, to be honest. The series' trademark creativity and British charm are definitely still intact. Everything is tea tins and cheese and crackers, and of course Stephen Fry's familiar narration returns.
Now, I know you're eager to get stuck into all this, but please remember the ethos of the Imagisphere.
And he's now joined by his longtime real-life chum Hugh Laurie, who plays the main antagonist, Newton.
Tonight, just before bedtime, all of Bunkum's nightmares become real.
It's such a shame that there's no back and forth between the two. You've got one of the greatest comedy duos here. Together, let them riff a bit.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. But anyway, this time around we find ourselves in the land of Bunkum, and before long, Newton tricks us into unleashing 3 evil titans into the world. So, to put them back in their place, we need to reawaken the heroes of the land Oddsock, Toggle, and Swoop.
The structure is a little different this time, with all levels being discovered from within 3 hub worlds. Each hub has a few main missions and some side quests to discover. Once you complete the main missions in a hub, you'll awaken one of the heroes, which will play very differently to sack persons. Odd Sock is fast and can clamber up walls and ninja jump between them. Toggle can toggle between being big and heavy, or little and fast. And Swoop is a bird.
It was surprising how little they're all used, though. Essentially, they only get one level each throughout the campaign, although they can also be used to explore the hubs and have special challenges to do, and the final mission puts all of them together in one stage. But other than that, you're always sack person. Even when you're playing in co-op, you all have to be sack persons.
Yeah, it's a bit of a missed opportunity, isn't it? I thought some of their levels were the best and they really helped mix up the gameplay. At least you can design new levels using them.
Yeah, and they have made better use of some of those new toys as well. There's the Pumpinator, which can blow or suck things,
Nana Pud won't wait if we dilly-dally.
as well as things like the Hook Hat and Boost Boots. Most of the levels are cleverly designed around a specific tool and give them all a unique spin.
There's a few technical issues we ran into which are worth mentioning. The worst was a checkpoint, which just refused to let us respawn and forced us to restart the entire level. And when we got back to that checkpoint, it happened again.
Yeah, and in general, there are quite a few checkpoints which are quite frustrating where the difficulty spikes. You mostly just breeze through a level and then you hit one bit that just kicks your butt. Then, before you know it, you've run out of lives and it's back to the start for you, boyo.
Yeah, I also find the controls frustrating. They're just a bit floaty and not quite precise enough for the kind of platforming that you need to do at times.
Yeah, definitely. But one thing I thought was a great addition was the Pop-It puzzles. They're essentially a whole different campaign, but the levels are a clever mix of standard campaign levels with the level building tools. I mean, really, they're just a great subtle introduction to becoming a creator and using all of the tools available, but they don't feel like a tutorial.
Yeah, it seems like an obvious blend. It's quite surprising that the series has taken so long to do something like this. What excites me most about it, though, is it will encourage more people to create, which is the whole purpose of this game, in my opinion.
And of course, it's great to see that all the millions of levels and creations made over the years can still be accessed. And you can even get the previous game's DLC packs too, so right out of the gate there's loads of free and paid for content available. Well, we should wrap this up. Final thoughts, Bajo?
Well, this is still such a powerful creation tool, and that is impressive. It is more of the same, but that's not a bad thing. I'm giving it 7 out of 10.
I'm still always swept up in the charm of it all, from the characters to the music. But yes, I just love how it embraces creativity and unleashes the creator in everyone, so I'm gonna give it 8.
And now it's time for another award. Welcome back to the Good Game Awards for 2014.
Our next award is for this year's Big Claim Lame Game. The game that promised big things but only delivered various shades of disappointment.
It can hurt falling off that hype train, Hex.
The nominees for Big Claim Lame Game are Watch Dogs, Destiny, The Evil Within, Assassin's Creed Unity, Drive Club.
And the winner is... Watch Dogs. Before its release, Watch Dogs was touted as having never before seen hacking mechanics in an ultra-detailed, futuristic Chicago. The reality, however, turned out to be a pretty conventional open-world driving/shooting experience.
Some of the hacking elements were novel, eavesdropping was always amusing, but this game was still last-gen design in next-gen wrapping. With almost 2 years of steady hype behind it, there was probably no way Watch Dogs was ever going to meet the lofty expectations that had been set.
We'll be back soon with more of the GGAs.
What's up? When I look back on 2014, it feels like it was a bit of an awkward year for gaming. The excitement and anticipation of new consoles had us ready for a whole new generation. But the reality was something that was a little bit more transitional. The games with the biggest hype didn't necessarily create the biggest impact. The fact is, as much as we like to start fresh, out with the old and in with the new, practically it's just not possible. And as a result, this was a tricky year to navigate. We felt a little pulled in all directions. We got some games for new consoles, some for old ones, and some that were created for both.
Children are frightened anyway.
What this meant for me as the year bore on and the AAA titles I'd been looking forward to continuously failed to hit the spot is that I turned to other slightly surprising sources of gaming nourishment. Titles that I didn't think I would end up gushing about in my end-of-year review, and yet here we are. To start with, both the BioShock and Last of Us DLC installments proved to be wonderfully crafted expansions of the stories within those much-loved worlds. They introduced new characters and locations, but in a way that perfectly complemented the narratives we loved.
The business of Rapture is business. It says it's sponsored by The Artist Struggle, The Golden Rule, and Rapture Records.
And didn't feel frivolous or tacked on. Telltale's masterful storytelling delved even deeper into the murky waters of our moral code with the second season of The Walking Dead. We faced tougher decisions and even more nail-biting moments this year, all from the perspective of one of my favorite gaming protagonists out there, young Clementine.
We sure have come a long way since we first met, huh? You're a good kid, Clementine.
What I love most about this franchise, though, is how so much of your skill is based around the gentle manipulation of the other survivors in your group. It's such a unique and exciting action to participate in as a gamer.
Jane, don't do it.
Child of Light gets my vote for most beautiful art and design of the year. I adored the dreamlike watercolor washes of paint, her beautiful floating animations and drifting locks of hair. But its greatest achievement was the way this game wove such a charming narrative and aesthetic into what were actually quite deep and complex RPG mechanics. That active battle bar twist on turn-based combat, superb. The months wore on, and still the games that opened my eyes and truly broadened my mind were either small, independent, or obscure. Like Lifeless Planet, an incredible melancholy mystery of planetary exploration with an intriguing narrative at its core. Also, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Another mystery, puzzles to solve, but perhaps more memorably, one of the most graphically impressive games we've ever seen. I came, I wandered, and I slow-panned all over the place. This was a confusing, captivating dreamscape to wander through, and I was hooked. A new experience for me was our participation in the ABC's contribution to Mental Health Week this year. This involvement saw us seeking out games that dealt with themes of mental illness. I think being a part of that episode is one of the most meaningful experiences I've ever had on the show, and playing actual Sunlight was unlike any other game I've played before. It was tough, it was emotionally challenging, but it also highlighted how affecting the video game medium can truly be when it shines a light on certain challenging themes and ideas. A few big budget games did manage to wiggle their way onto my list. Assassin's Creed Unity, while yes, riddled with launch issues, appalling frame rates and loading, still managed to stunningly recreate revolutionary Paris in a way that was so vibrant, so dynamic, while finessing that core gameplay in such a way that had me saying, I can't stay mad at you, and I remain a devoted fan. I must also give special mention to Bayonetta 2, a game which has, for the second time in my many years on Good Game, forced me to point out the facepalm-worthy character objectification of the game's protagonist through its ever-invasive crotch shots, in montage form.
Now it's time to be moving.
But it was Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor that was my greatest AAA joy this year. Finally, a game that introduced something innovative and unique with the Nemesis system. Taking on all those fearsome, frustrating foes with masterfully designed combat, calculating and methodical, it was a meaty, delicious morsel of Middle-earthery to digest. And delivered at a time when I'm pretty sure we were all starved for something like this.
Moonshine.
in charge, it does. I'm gonna skin ya, flay ya. Do you want to be dead when it happens?
As always, though, I will finish on my personal game of the year. And this choice, in my opinion, speaks volumes of the year that was and where the true gaming gold was to be found. Valiant Hearts: The Great War was a thoughtful, impeccably designed puzzle journey that had us leading a series of characters across the battlefields of the Great War.
The death toll was staggering.
Each story inspired by actual wartime letters, which in turn shaped the narrative in a way that felt truly meaningful. Valiant Hearts had everything. Humor and joy, tragedy and suffering, challenging puzzles and wonderful animations packed full of personality. But best of all, the game actually managed to create an educational experience in the process. I learned so much about the Great War. This game was beautiful and perfect in every way, and a masterpiece of game design. And I think that's the biggest lesson I learned in 2014. New consoles and fancy hardware is cool and all, but it doesn't necessarily create a recipe for the most affecting gaming experience. In fact, it just goes to show that with the right ingredients, even a downloadable 2D puzzle adventure can leave the most memorable impact.
Hi, I'm Pete Hines from Bethesda. Merry Christmas to everyone at Good Game.
Exactly. Every day in the Good Game office, the cast and crew get together to munch lunch and talk video games, because there's always something in the morning headlines that stirs up a discussion. So here are 5 big gaming stories that got us talking in 2014. Coming in at number 5, it's all about the remasters. The launch of next-gen consoles at the end of last year should have ushered in a bold new generation of gaming, but instead this year got off to a bit of a software limp and never really got going.
The best games on both new consoles for most of this year were next-gen remasters and re-releases of games we'd already played. Sure, they were bigger, brighter and shinier, but still oh so familiar. There seemed to be a nervous reluctance from publishers to fully embrace the new systems, and instead of being retired to the bottom shelf, the PS3 and the Xbox 360 continued to survive with a handful of last-gen exclusives.
Who's your new friend, Eric?
Shut up, Mom. Not now.
Hopefully next year will be a different story as the tide begins to turn in favour of the better hardware. But without a doubt, this has got to be the slowest launch of a next-gen console since, well, ever. Coming in at number 4, it's billion-dollar businesses buying out successful companies like Mojang and Oculus. Gaming's virtual reality future took an unexpected turn right at the start of the year, with the announcement that Facebook had bought Oculus VR, the company behind the successful VR headset, the Oculus Rift. The VR device that looked to turn PC gaming on its head was now in the hands of Mark Zuckerberg's social media squad, which naturally made gamers pretty nervous. But with Doom and Quake genius John Carmack joining Oculus as Chief Technical Officer, the company still has a champion of first-person gaming driving its focus. Another big buyout that raised our collective eyebrows was Microsoft's $2.5 billion purchase of Mojang, the creator of Minecraft. The deal caused major concern whether the tech empire would treat the beloved title with the respect it had earned. We all remember what happened to the once great Rare Studios. But this deal wasn't just about one game, and Mojang's golden reputation should serve Microsoft well with their future titles. At number 3 on our list, it's the next generation Resolution War. Another issue that embroiled the next-gen consoles this year was the drama surrounding resolution and frame rate. The Xbox One was regularly being trotted out as inferior to the PS4 in same-game comparisons, often showing to be rendering at lower resolutions than the PS4's 1080p benchmark. What really seemed to upset people is that game publishers weren't being totally upfront about it, seemingly wanting to avoid pointing out that their HD games were being upscaled or not wanting to put their chips behind one company's console. It wasn't all smooth 1080p sailing for PlayStation either, with a consumer even lodging a lawsuit against Sony, alleging deceptive marketing of Killzone Shadowfall, as apparently the game's multiplayer only displays 960 by 1080 res. If ever there was a definition of first world problems, then surely this was it. Let's hope 2015 is more about nuance and narrative rather than plain old numbers. Now coming in at number 2, it's buggy and broken game launches. This has also been a surprising year for botched game releases, with everything ranging from defective servers to buggy and broken code straight out of the box.
Assassin's Creed Unity stunned us all by releasing in what felt like an unfinished state, with poor performance across all platforms and bizarre visual glitches that turned its characters into surreal nightmarish apparitions. Ubisoft also had trouble with a buggy Far Cry 4 on the PS3, advising everyone who downloaded the game to delete it, including their save files, and download another version of the game entirely. Meanwhile, Drive Club on the PS4 struggled with crippling server problems and even missing features. But most surprising was the Halo Master Chief Collection, shipping with completely broken matchmaking. What was once a defining feature of the series was now one of its biggest flaws.
But your inability to safeguard Halo was a colossal failure.
So why were launch problems so prevalent this year? Was it because our always online consoles made it even easier to patch straight after release and there was more pressure on publishers to ship? Either way, let's hope it's a trend that doesn't continue. Which brings us to the number 1 talked about topic in gaming this year, which was of course, Gamergate. The whole Gamergate saga was a black cloud that hung over the entire global gaming community and once again polluted the public perception of gamers. So why didn't Good Game produce a story on it?
One answer is that this was a story that never stopped evolving, lurching from one horrible event to the next. Attempting to pin Gamergate down, what it stood for, whether its claims were legitimate, felt like clutching at sand. From the outside looking in, the movement seemed both misogynistic and vicious, while at the same time claiming to be concerned with ethical games journalism.
There was a bizarre schism to it that could never be satisfactorily explained.
Gamergate quickly became the label for a set of people seemingly outraged over simple social criticism of the games we play, lashing out at an industry that was becoming more diverse, more desiring of self-analysis. Gamergaters attempting to, for example, silence feminist commentary on games seemed ignorant of how review and criticism works in every other artistic field, be it film, music, or literature. As a culture, we need to view our games through different lenses to shine a light on their deficiencies in order for the medium to grow and ultimately become more colourful, more varied, and more stimulating.
There will always be games that dare to offend or titillate, that will never change. But to insist that games are only superficial entertainment and should only be treated as such, or that games should only be judged objectively, is denying us diversity of opinion and restricting growth of the medium. Because in the end, games are and will continue to be so much more. Alright guys, next topic, best game of the year?
Thanks, Goose. More and more, we're starting to see games weave in an element of education into their gameplay.
Never Alone strives to do this with native Alaskan storytelling and old-school platforming. The story at the core of Never Alone is that of a small village caught in the grip of a seemingly never-ending blizzard. The village can no longer hunt and is close to starvation, but one little girl refuses to accept that and sets off to find the source of the blizzard.
Yes, this story has actually been passed down for generations in native Alaskan culture, but recently they wanted to embrace new ways of sharing their stories, and that's what inspired this game.
Yeah, and it sure has an authentic feel, doesn't it? From the art style to the narration, it's clear the developers worked intimately with the Alaskan people to craft this experience. The game's story was scripted by an Alaskan, and as you progress through the game, you unlock a series of mini documentaries about the local hunting and gathering culture.
The hair was the longest, and the skin was the thickest, and we would use those for our winter gear. With that stuff on, you could sleep outside in 50 below, and it wouldn't bother you a bit.
Negative 50 Hex.
I know. I mean, it's hard to imagine how they could survive in such a harsh climate. Which is partly why I found these documentaries so interesting, and I loved how neatly they tied into the game's locations.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the gameplay. The young girl, Nuna, starts off alone in the snow, with nothing to help keep her alive except the ability to jump. But very early on, she's joined by a helpful fox, who stays with her for the rest of her journey.
I think they did such a great job of injecting genuine personality into both Nuna and the fox. They both have an innocent and playful nature to them, which made it all more heartbreaking to see their reactions whenever one of them died.
It is possible to play this game in co-op, which in my experience is definitely the way to go. If you play solo, you'll need to constantly flick back and forth between the characters.
The AI pathfinding's not great though, is it?
Yeah, not at all. In fact, it's quite frustrating. If the AI comes across anything other than a single jump, they just stand there and do nothing. Even worse than that though, I kept having to replay sections because my AI buddy had died when I wasn't in control of them. And it just stalls the experience a bit.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't come up with a better solution to have one player control both characters. And the platforming is quite simplistic, so perhaps they could have taken inspiration from Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, where you control both characters at once, each from a different half of the controller. But at least having the co-op solves that problem, and I really enjoyed that.
After you make some progress, the pair gain a few new tricks. Nuna gets the ability to smash ice obstacles with her bowler, and by timing wind gusts, she can make some spectacular leaps.
Yes, and the fox can claw his way up icy walls. But his most useful talent is the ability to summon spirit platforms for the pair to use.
It's very useful in co-op, but as a solo player, it is a bit of a chore manually activating all of those platforms. Especially the more complicated sections where the characters are solving puzzles together. This AI just feels like dead weight.
It was far less frustrating for me. I mean, the platforming itself, I agree, isn't incredible, but I really enjoyed the 4 hours or so I spent with this game. There's a nice range of beautifully drawn locations, and the pair's journey was genuinely touching. What are you going to give it?
Well, I think the story is well crafted, and those documentaries are fascinating, but it just has so many rough edges. I'm going to give it 6 out of 10.
Well, clearly when this is viewed as a co-op experience, this platformer has a lot more going for it, and I thought the story was really poignant, so I'm giving it 7.5.
Hi everyone, my name's Alex Hutchinson, Creative Director on Far Cry 4, and from everyone at Ubisoft, we'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Well, here we are again at the end of another year. Many games came and went, many NPCs gave us quests and were quickly forgotten, and many new characters were created by our own godlike hands to live out their short lives in small boxes under our televisions and in towers next to our desks. And there were many highlights. Call of Duty is kind of good again.
I have sent people to die in your wars. So I feel uniquely qualified to tell you, your wars don't work.
And it was a surprisingly great year for turn-basy point-and-clicky games.
Let her live! No. Oh, it's on!
No! Didn't count.
We even got a great South Park game, made with extra love and care by its genius creators, Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Dude, that was awesome! You were all like, being the crowd was all like, nah. Okay, you prove yourself worthy, douchebag.
We had our 27th SingStar game, can't wait for number 28.
No, I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a guy that can give no love. How long is the song?
And a Goat Simulator.
Sorry.
I'm happy we live in a time where a game called Goat Simulator exists. And that it already has a medieval-themed expansion. And what better way to start the year than an utter pain with Dark Souls 2? This monster of a game consumed my life and the lives of those around me for a good month in March, and then again when it came out on PC in April, and then again more recently as the DLC started to drop. And what fine DLC it was. Beautiful and mechanical locations, new puzzle ideas and fight setups.
Oh, I have to fight Big Golem Guy and his friend?
And these guys.
Oh, we both left at the same time. Oh my gosh!
They're they're my favorite. You get the sense that developer From Software really threw everything they had into these mini gauntlets. They somewhat returned to that Dark Souls 1 interlocking feel with the zones, and started to push and play with things like tricky NPC characters. When I think about going back to that world, it brings on what I call Souls face, where you just kind of lose all emotion and look off in the distance, thinking of the I'm just not ready to go back yet. How good are games now? They are just so good. It's no secret that I'm a big fan of AAA blockbuster graphics, and while that is not everything that a game is, it's a big part about why I play video games. And in 2014, they looked fabulous. Even MMORPGs, which in the past have always had some visual concessions. The realistic look of the Elder Scrolls Online was stunning at times. WildStar's fierce action and Candyland zones were a delight to play in. And even World of Warcraft is a thing of beauty again. It has been a rough year for game launches, and especially for our new consoles.
Seriously?
The good news is, we have seen some glimmers of coding magic already. Forza Horizon 2 captured the spirit of the open road like never before. Stunning tracks, rewarding gameplay, and truly excellent on- and off-road handling made these sick burnouts especially sick. The more recent Sunset Overdrive was a bustling explosion of colour and movement.
Somebody call off Roid Rage!
And the remasters of The Last of Us and Grand Theft Auto 5 showed us how crisp everything can look.
Hey.
Now, I don't consider myself a PC elitist. I don't like labels. I go where the games are, regardless of platforms. But it just so happens they often look their best when I press this button. Oh yeah. The sweet hum of adjustable fans. The faint beep of a CMOS check. The flicker of a thin bezeled monitor coming to life. The clack of a mechanical keyboard. The silence of a water-cooled CPU. And the whirring of 6 fans spinning up as multiple GPUs kick into overdrive to tackle 130 frames per second ultra-high definition gaming. I love my PC. And I love playing video games on it. And every day, there are new video games for it. Every day. My personal computer is no longer just something I use for RTS and FPS games. It is now an extension of myself, built by me to serve me. It's my window into the wider world through a magical dance of fingers on individually spring-loaded keyboard keys. And PCs have hit a few milestones this year, most notably with refresh rate technology. Both video card players are building hardware into their monitors to synchronize its refresh with the GPU render rate. What that means is this is already a thing of the past if you're willing to fork out the cash for it. It's an important step in PC gaming. I think it's a big deal. And with next-gen consoles helping to push high-res textures across all platforms, it's a good time to be on the PC, and more worthwhile to run multiple graphics cards than it was a year ago. It is an expensive hobby, and I know I go on about it a lot, but when you see something like Battlefield 4 running on Ultra at 1440p or higher at a steady 130 frames per second, you can find all sorts of reasons to justify not eating for a bunch of weeks.
Eat the bees!
Ow, ow, ow.
Wipe out. Never mind.
Ow, ow, ow.
Speaking of Battlefield 4, it finally came out of beta a few months ago with a patch that fixed most of the issues that have plagued that game for the last year. It's had 5 DLC maps for this year, and they've mostly been very good. Why am I talking about a game which came out at the end of 2013, you may ask? Well, firstly, it now works, and also no other multiplayer shooter is doing maps like this. Sandstorms.
Oh, just look at it. Just watch it now.
Dead for looking at it, but it was good.
Blizzards.
I'm trying to repair you, Bajo.
Drop pods. Railgunning helicopters out of the air.
I got him! Oh, you got him!
And hover tanks.
He is dead because I'm in a hover tank.
This was a great year for so many games, but before I wrap up, I just want to give special mention to a few. We only reviewed Dragon Age Inquisition a couple of weeks ago, but that game means so much to me already. I read a line in a review recently that said, it's a game that haunts you between sessions, and that's very true. I fear progression in this game. I haven't finished it yet. I'm cleaning up every zone, talking to every NPC I can find, and doing everything before I even consider doing a story mission.
Look at the dance of it. Oh, he's dead.
And Wolfenstein: The New Order, which I think is by far the best shooter of the year. It showed how you can take a tired, old franchise and formula and suddenly make you care about its characters.
Now I put you in the car, we have to drive!
So good, and such a surprise.
You're adorable.
And special mention to the maniacal Gumby survivalist game Unturned.
I've got a zombie chasing me. Help me find a weapon. Hi, Hex. You're very naked.
Am I supposed to find clothes? What the? Why do you look like a dinosaur?
Yeah. Just keep going. There's a zombie coming. We'll worry about it later.
Which was mostly coded by one 17-year-old.
Hi. Hello. Stop saying hello to me. Hello.
And Hearthstone, the first digital card game that I came to truly love to the point of tablet on the toilet obsession.
What do you use it? I'm just gonna
select your deck already.
Don't you sheep him. Or you could just do that.
And then grew to hate as I realized how bad I am at it. So what will 2015 bring? Lots of games. And personally, having recently discovered the joys of live streaming...
Say something for me, buddy. I'm here.
I hope to do that a lot more and get some early impressions and possible shenanigans out there before we do our full review.
Yeah, none of them have the Drake of the West Wind.
And I think we'll see more alphas and betas as developers try to make their games more stable before launch. And between No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous, and Star Citizen, we're going to have a lot of space exploration to do. There's also Bloodborne, which looks like Dark Souls meets Van Helsing. And there's The Order, Evolve, Project Cars, Batman Arkham Knight, maybe a new Zelda, The Division, Battlefield Hardline, Halo 5, Quantum Break, Uncharted, and of course, Star Wars Battlefront. That's right, next year it's possible that we will get a new Star Wars movie and a new Star Wars game in the same month. So that was my 2014 and I bid it farewell, and I think what I remember most about this year is that I licked everything as a goat.
Video games are exhilarating. They fill us with joyous feelings of accomplishment and make us feel like champions.
They also remind us of our own precious mortality, that we're always one step away from total annihilation.
So let's take a moment now to honour those who met the end of the line in 2014. Just a warning, you're about to see some massive spoilers.
Yes, specifically characters that died from these games. And now we bring you good games in memoriam for 2014.
Is there something we can help you with, sir? Well, a glass would be a start.
You hold your every breath. Life is for the living in the water.
What is that? What's wrong?
You feel that you should run, but where are you to hide in the water? Oh,
why must the universe punish the good?
you vow your life and blood. This is not our home in the water. Oh.
Volunteers.
Weißt du das?
Noch eine Küche, Jungs. Jetzt bist du auf dich uneingestellt. Aber keine Angst.
Against the time struggle to keep our heads above the deep, and our hearts above the line, above the line.
I don't know what to make of you, Mr. DeWitt.
Do you like dancing games? How about men who look a bit like Vikings? How about the season of Christmas? Well, good. You're in the middle of this Venn diagram. Dear Saint Nicholas, I have been very good this year, hashtag to the best of my recollection. Anyway, only one thing for me. Dance segments in every game. Assassin's Creed would be perfect for some dance-infused DLC. Moves like the Leap of Faith, the Parkour Wall Dance, the Two-Step Stab. How about some rhythm action to break up the long drawn-out soap opera cutscenes of the Metal Gear franchise, just so we don't fall asleep or have all our muscles atrophy. We could have moves like the Cardboard Box Shuffle, CQC Tango, the Prone Kneel Polka, surely the Call of Duty formula needs more of a revamp than the insertion of Kevin Spacey's face. Well then, I propose that a bit of battle ballet won't hurt. First time player pirouette, the Merry Teabag, the Yes-No Scope, Dark Souls, gaming's equivalent of the Japanese pufferfish, could benefit from the delightful levity some dance moves would provide. Here are some possible moves. The Bonfire Booty, the Treasure Ahead Troll, and the Rage Quit. So, please join me in sending this request to Santa. And until it comes through, I'm going to enjoy a little White Christmas Disney magic with Just Dance's Let It Go. Yes, I'm a grown man who likes Frozen, or as we like to be called, Brosens.
Welcome back to the GGAs. It's time now to relive some of 2014's most memorable gaming moments. It's always tough and fun to narrow down the nominees for this award, Bajo.
Indeed it is, Hex. And a bit of a spoiler warning here, we are going to show you some super cool moments from games you may not have played yet. And the nominees are seeing the Xenomorph reveal itself in Alien Isolation, facing the Orc captains in Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, hearing the Boganella gun in Borderlands, the pre-sequel,
That on your head.
summoning Mr. Slave in South Park, The Stick of Truth, the Wolf transformation in The Wolf Among Us, Luigi's epic death stare in Mario Kart 8, and the final walk in Valiant Hearts, The Great War.
And the winner is... the final walk in Valiant Hearts, The Great War.
It was not my intention to kill him. War makes men mad.
In games about war, we expect violence and we expect action, but we rarely expect to form such strong emotional bonds with characters. It's these bonds that make Valiant Hearts so unforgettable.
In a game that told us so much through simple design, the final walk was an appropriate and poignant ending for the character and player alike.
Keep me in your prayers.
To this day, holding right on the thumbstick leaves tears welling in my eyes.
Yeah, big softy. Well, that was our most memorable moment for the year. We'll be back soon with the big one, our best game for 2014. The Wii U version of Super Smash Bros. Is the fourth main release in Nintendo's fighting game franchise. Of course, that's not including the recent 3DS edition, which is pretty similar to this. The series has always shunned genre staples like health bars and intricate button combos, and instead opted for a more simplistic style of combat, focusing on belting opponents out of the arena.
Such a satisfying way to dispatch your foes. Smash Bros. Has an ever-expanding roster, which is now over 50 characters. The legacy brawlers have traditionally been recruited from core Nintendo franchises like Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon.
Pikachu!
So to make up the numbers, we've seen less obvious franchises like Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing thrown into the mix.
There are some pretty random cameos in there too, like the dog from the NES light gun game Duck Hunt. I mean, that game is 30 years old. Plus, we also get some non-Nintendo brawlers like Sonic.
That was almost too easy.
Pac-Man, and Mega Man. How do you feel about these picks?
Well, Hex, being a Sonic fan, it's always nice to see him in the lineup. But I think I could have worked in some better moves for him, instead of just focusing on a spin attack. And I can't help but wish Capcom had licensed some of the Street Fighter 2 stars, like Ken or Guile, instead of using Mega Man. However, Pac-Man turned out to be way better than I expected.
Oh, totally. I mean, he's hands down got the best super move. But we should probably discuss the new features because there are no shortage of those either.
Yes, this felt like quite a generous game to me. There are dozens of different modes, so it took a few days before I'd even played them all. Of course, there are the standard array of training and fight your way to the boss modes. But more interestingly, you get specific challenges, like using the Wii Fit trainer to stop your enemies eating junk food.
Now, return to your original position.
Enjoyable and educational.
Yeah, I thought some of them really missed the mark though, like the Mario Party style board game. Rolling dice and collecting power-ups in between random fights just didn't work for me.
Fair enough, but at least you're not forced to play it if you don't want to. It's totally possible to ignore the single-player modes and just play multiplayer and still unlock all the characters that way. Or the other way round if you prefer.
Well, the heart of Smash Bros. Has always been its multiplayer, and happily it's more accessible than ever. I can't think of a more controller-friendly game than this. There's support for all three of the Wii U's controller types, even GameCube controllers via an adapter.
And both couch and online multiplayer have been souped up as well. It's now possible to have up to 8 players biffing it out locally, and they've included some far bigger stages to accommodate these chaotic fights. Plus you can build your own Mii fighters, and even create stages too. It's got all the gameplays.
Well, online has always traditionally been Nintendo's Achilles heel, but I'm happy to say it actually works pretty well here. The process of adding friends to play with them is still way more fiddly than it should be, but finding matches is nice and snappy.
Mario!
And I love that you can practice against bots while you wait for the match to start.
I know, so much better than waiting in lobby screens. I did hit some nasty lag in some of the 4-player matches though. But for me, one-on-one online against friends is the mode I care about the most in a fighter, and it worked smoothly. And I think this is where you can drill down to the real depth of this combat. Cautiously waiting for your opening and timing those counters just right.
Yes, I always admire those perfectly timed reversals, but for me the pace is often just a little bit too crazy for me to really be the choreographed, stylish fighter that I want to be. So I appreciated the option to flick the slow-mo on for the odd fight.
Ah, so slow.
Graceful.
We also had to play with Nintendo's Amiibo figures, which is their answer to Skylanders. You can touch one of them onto the gamepad to unlock a new version of that character. But they're not actually giving you access to anyone new.
Yeah, it feels a bit half-hearted, doesn't it? The alternate character you unlock can be trained up as you fight against it, and you can feed it stat upgrades. So the idea is that you then pit your Amiibo character against someone else's.
I get that they're trying to do a spin on the whole Pokemon training side of things, but it just fell flat for me. As I mentioned though, none of this is forced on you, and that core Smash Bros. Combat is just so fun.
Yeah, and considering this is mashing together decades worth of Nintendo history, it's surprisingly coherent. Sure, some of the side dishes aren't great, but there's no denying that this is a buffet of biffo for fans to gorge themselves on, so I'm giving it 9.
Delicious metaphor, Hex. Yeah, this is top-notch stuff. I'm giving it 9 as well.
I'm Randy Pitchford. I'm the president of Gearbox Software, and I want to wish the Good Game audience Merry Christmas.
Welcome back to the GGAs for our final award of the night, the best game of 2014.
And while only one game can reign supreme, all of our finalists should be congratulated for delivering exceptional experiences. In many ways, it's unfair to separate them.
Well, without further ado, the nominees are Dark Souls 2,
Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor.
Pain don't scare me. You don't scare me.
Dragon Age Inquisition,
Will they follow?
Hearthstone: Heroes of Warcraft.
It was nice knowing you, man.
Super Smash Bros. Wii U,
and Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Sometimes Christmas, sometimes birthdays, and sometimes Nazis come. They leave with patience and shackles.
And the winner is Dragon Age
Inquisition.
Blinded, so we're hiding, dying to be. We're hiding from the fighting, longing to see. We're waiting for someone to speak and set us all free.
From the bear-riddled forests of the hinterlands to the harsh weather of the Storm Coast and the cozy comfort of Haven's War Room, your journey through BioWare's latest masterpiece is colourful, vast, exciting, and full of feels.
What it means to you, how you lead us, that is for you alone to determine.
Deep with lore and sparkling dialogue, the main plot and companion side stories are artfully woven together,
I hope you'll feel the same.
Not even.
providing you with countless tough decisions.
That is the crucial point. Common ground is the start of all negotiations.
Add to that the rich, tactical top-down combat, challenging rifts, and epic dragons. Inquisition stands as one of the most interesting, multi-layered RPGs ever made.
Congratulations to BioWare for winning this year's best game. That's it for the GGAs. Catch you next time on the flip side. I'm out of here.
Put on a helmet if you're gonna ride that. So.
So, did you name the game for this week?
No, did you?
I'm not a gamer.
I'm game for anything.
Right, well, it was Super Rubber Dub on the PS3 back in 2007.
I'm gonna miss those guys.
Me too. Using the 6-axis controller, players tilted a bathtub of water around to guide a cute little ducky through various challenges. And it was our Name the Game for this week because it was developed by Sumo Digital, the same team behind Little Big Planet 3.
Well, it's time for us to retreat to our gaming hobbit holes for another holiday break, but Good Game will be back on your screens in February next year.
That's right, and in 2015, we'll also be bringing you a brand new daily digital show.
Yes, that's every 24 hours, 5 days a week. So exciting, Bajo. But that's all we can say about it for now. A big thank you to everyone who watched the show and tweeted along with us throughout the year, and to those of you who came out to see us at one of our many live appearances.
Hello and welcome to Good Game Live! Are you excited to be here?
It's always so wonderful to meet our fellow gamers.
Yes, absolutely. And as a bit of a gift, we've put our live comedy trivia extravaganza show from back in October on iView for you to watch right now.
Yes, along with all of our other specials from throughout the year.
See, if you guys had that kind of attitude, you'd be ahead.
Stop stroking it.
Light her up.
And a huge thank you to everyone here at the ABC who help us make the show week in, week out. And Hex, that's about it from us, I think. And I don't know about you, but I've got a pretty massive pile of shame to get through.
Oh, I've got to start 2015 with a clean slate, Bajo.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably just play World of Warcraft. Until next year, Bajo out.
Hex out.